In this video, I'm going to take you through my initial reaction to the ACCA SBL examination pre-seen information being released for the December 2025 exam sitting. My name is James, I'm an ACCA qualified member, and if you'd like access to my exclusive SBL notes you can see above me that help students around the world to pass their examination, click the link in the description of this video and you can download a copy yourself. I'm also delighted to say I'm associated and affiliated with Astranti. They offer pre-seen analysis packs, actual mock examinations that are based on the actual SBL pre-seen information for December 2025 itself. And again, I've linked those all down below. And for pure transparency, as always on the channel, if you were to purchase anything through those links to help you to pass, I'd be entitled to a small commission, which goes to supporting the channel as always. So massive, huge thank you. Let's get stuck into it. The pre-seen notes as I'm recording this in the morning, they've only been out there for a few hours, so the notes that you see on the screen are not the complete ones. I'm going to do those on the train, and it's quite ironic that we have a hotel chain here, all based on Levwell, or we can call it Levwell? Let's call it Levwell on there. As you can see from my glamorous background behind me, you can see my shower and the window of my hotel on here, but I'm not in a four-star hotel on there or part of one of what Levwell own and operates their 35 high quality hotels on there. This is where they have a target market of primary leisure guests. And let me just take you through some of the things that, after a good old read through it from start to finish, I've got some things underlined that I'd recommend you get down because I think you could definitely apply that. And it sort of stood out to me as I went through it. And all right, that's an interesting point. The key bit for you to get down in your notes, as you can see highlighted in blue, is that the hotel chain is based in the country of Estland. The external examiner absolutely loves it when you actually refer to the country itself, and you could link it into some of the theories like SWOT analysis, PESTLE, where international expansion could be on the cards, but it's understanding the real details that are going to get you the marks on that exam day. Other things that link into my initial reaction, you can see on the right hand side that leisure guests tend to be more price sensitive than business guests. So when we're talking about Levwell on here, they are primarily targeting leisure guests. That is going to be one mistake that lots of students maybe get a bit confused on. That is where we've really got to get our head around as to, well, how do they operate? Where do they operate? And you've been given lots of different things about different styles of hotels, the different business models on there. Again, I'll be doing more videos on this, taking it through from top to bottom, the different sort of industry structures, whether it's a chain or an independent hotel. The key thing that really stood out to me, you can see on the left-hand side, is that there is intense competitive pressure between the hotel chains. A really competitive market that we're operating in, Estland on there, and that should be baked into your thinking when you're considering your analysis. There are loads of different things on here about industry challenges and the sort of other industry success factors, where when we get into the figures, which we'll come back onto the overview, the figures were the really interesting thing on the final page. And to link into this to help you understand it in a bit more context, we're given Levwell's actual mission and values on there about care, first class service, positivity on there. And it says, we take care of our staff, we take care of our guests on there. And we actually have a fair reward for their work and develop our staff. But you kind of go down to the financial information at the bottom. This is the real interesting bit on here as to we've been given and shown that the revenue has been increasing year on year, positive thing. However, the operating profit margin has really remained a bit flatlined. So it's a case of, well, hang on a second, where's all the extra added expenses? Maybe it's linked into how we actually deliver the hotels themselves. Occupancy rates, as you can see, have actually been pretty flatlined as well. So maybe we're starting to actually charge more. But the interesting one on here is that employee turnover at the bottom. And what they're saying there is it's been pretty high for the last 5 years. And that's where 39% of the employees have actually left the hotel in the past year. That's really high in terms of an employee turnover rate, especially when in their mission and values, they say that they actually really care about and take care of their staff on there. Other factors you can see On the screen, we've got information systems, we've got risks, we've got employees, lots of things to do with the different stakeholders of the organization. Could link into something like a SWOT analysis on there, but plenty to actually go through and dissect in a bit more detail. But in terms of the initial reaction, you'll be thinking to yourself, come on, James, we've got to get on to Levwell. What's going on? Maybe you're watching this after you've finished a busy day at work. What are the key things that we need to be aware of? Well, as you can see on the right hand side, we've got the hotel chain founded 40 years ago. So again, it's going to be really stable. You're probably going to get repeat customers on there because it's a high quality experience. And that is where, again, we're told that the guests and employees are felt respected and appreciated on there. It is also listed Levwell, so think about that in terms of the actual size, complexities on there, and the actual links to ethics and other factors of what we need to actually disclose on there. It's not just a simple limited company, or it's not a sole owner on there. Other things which are really interesting are that it's actually grown organically. So that's where they're not taking on, by the looks of it on here, massive amounts of debt. It looks like it's organically grown, just pure equity. We may be given more information on that on the exam day. And they're always looking at opportunities to increase the number of hotels. So you go to yourself, maybe a hint there of a SWOT analysis, especially using the word of opportunity. But the main thing here to really get your head around when you're going through this yourself is where my mouse is on the right hand side. So Levwells actually have 35 hotels that are all similar in size and have approximately 80 guest rooms each on there. So in terms of size and scale, it's not ridiculously big on there. And remember, they're all based in Estland as well. Now, the important thing on here is the type of hotel. So the hotels are located in rural or coastal seaside locations, so by the sea, and the majority of the guests are leisure guests, so they are price sensitive. In other words, they've probably got a lot of disposable income, maybe looking at maybe repeat customers on there, and actually, if they are price sensitive and they like to go to a rural coastal getaway, then they're going to be looking at other competition and saying, well, what do they have to offer? What makes them so special? And this is the key bit in terms of what makes Levwell actually more special compared to the larger chains. And as you can see in the second paragraph, unlike hotels, in many of the larger chains, Levwells do not have standardized designs. So in other words, if you go to a Holiday Inn or a travel lodge, they all look the same in terms of the rooms. But then when we have on here, they all operate under the Levwell brand, and each hotel has its own distinct style. So if you go to one by the coast or a rural one, it will be different. Each of the 35 hotels are all different and based on the local area and the history. But the ethos remains the same. High quality facilities and individual designs on there. That's what it is all about, to actually attract the guests on there and to get them coming back. We've been given a board structure, as you can see on the right hand side. We've got the correct setup on there in terms of 5 executive directors and 5 non-executive directors. So again, little things on there just to be aware of in case there was a shake-up on the exam day. Another interesting thing I had to put in the reaction on here when I was reading it through is on the left-hand side, page 9, about the pricing policy. This is where we have that hotel managers have the authority to apply discounts of up to 25% to these rates to encourage bookings. Now, we've seen that employee turnover. What type of staff are actually, or what area of staff are leaving the organization? Is it the managers? Is it the cleaning staff? Is it the people behind the desk? Who knows on there, but this can link into the other areas as we touched on before about the risks and the employees and also the suppliers and the procurement. So potentially on the exam day could be one of those unseen bits of information that we could be given on the exam day that you need to actually just absorb and take on board and say, I see where that could potentially link into an issue for the organization. Overall, we are given, as you can see on here, the 5 largest hotel chains in Estland, and they account for 23.1% of the total supply of hotel rooms. Key names for you to get down on the right-hand side: Beston, Travelwise, Vacant on there, Yelton and Haliot, all key ones that you need to be aware of that could be thrown up on the exam day. But the key bit on the right hand side, in terms of owner managed or franchised, you've got to understand the two different types and how they actually operate on there. Because remember, it comes back to that point you can see on the left hand side, there is intense competitive pressure between the hotel chains, and that is where they're fighting for the customers, especially if you're only in one area, which is leisure on there. There are, of course, business guests that we're told about. But leisure guests tend to be more price sensitive than business guests. But this could be an opportunity for Levwell on there to actually maybe consider going down the business guest actual route. But we've been given plenty of information about the hotel industry on there, and I think it's actually quite a nice little case study and pre-seed information to get us kicked off from there. If you have any questions actually going through the pre-seed information yourself, be sure to leave me a comment down below, or if you have any questions on it, I will definitely get back to you on there. The other final thing I just wanted to get on record is the final bit on the left-hand side, those KPIs and the industry body. Now, the one thing that really stood out to me, comparing this pre-seed material compared to others, is really the hitting home of Essendon. You can see the little blue that I've done on here, and we've got the industry body linking it to KPIs. There's quite a lot of emphasis on the country itself, and you've got on there, Visit Essendon is also responsible for improving tourist services. I think something like that could come up in terms of applying one of the SBL theories that you just need to be aware of, maybe from a sort of Porter's Five Forces element or pestle on there, just to be aware, because you can see on here, seasonality of Essendon, especially in the hotel industry, pricing policies that link into it, and then lastly, the key activities and processes. The actual pre-seam information is going to actually show up a student who really understands how a hotel and the industry operates, with the last thing to get on record are those sources of income. But I think some students will just go, yep, it's a hotel industry, they rent rooms, people book them, and that's it. But you can see on there for the sources of income, a third link into food and drink. We're also given that 5% is other income, and the room revenue is only 62%. And also to bear in mind, that can also link into your points about, well, if the revenue is only 62%, look at the occupancy rate on there. We're only getting about 67, 77%. So there's definite room and capacity on there for greater usage of the actual hotel facilities and to get more guests in, which will increase revenues. But the thing we're not told are about those costs, linking it into the operating profit margin. What is driving up the costs and what has made that operating profit margin remain pretty flatlined on there? And that is where the last point to mention is those board of directors on there. We're not given any names, but you could definitely mention on the exam day about accountability, who's in charge of the different areas, and we could get it on the exam day that you're given the names of some of these areas. They love to do that on the SBL exam. But overall, in terms of a initial reaction video and going through the notes for the first time, I think it's going to be a good one on there. So if you'd like access to my exclusive notes when they're done, I'm going to link those down below along with those Astranti resources. Check out their pre-scene analysis packs. They're definitely going to help you to pass. And be sure to like and subscribe to the video and the channel. And I'll see you on the other side now for another SBL video. So thank you very much.